r/legal advice. Awkward Cheddar says, boss tells me I need to clock out when restaurant is slow. Around 2 weeks ago, my boss and I were standing by the clock-in screen. He comes up to me and tells me that when the restaurant is slow and there's nothing to do, that I need to clock out and only clock back in when we get an order or I find something to do, things that are not a cook's job. I replied with, well, if there's nothing to do, I just sit here and not get paid? And he goes, well, there's always something to do, and he grinned and started listing random things in the basement to scrub or clean, and just other random things that I've never been required to do before. We are a small business and don't get many customers, so I've been spending most of my shifts unpaid. For an 8-hour shift I'm only getting paid for 2 to 3 hours of it, and he keeps track of the clock in and clock out times even when he's not there. I told him that I can't help how much business we get and that I shouldn't have to not be paid just because we're slow, and he goes, well, I'm paying you for labor, I can't pay you to not do anything. Think about how I feel. I barely make any money running this place. You think it's tough? Think about how tough it is for me. I had to get a second job. Almost everyone there has 2 jobs. I'm putting my 2 weeks in today, but I'm very upset because my paychecks are struggling. Thank you in advance for any advice. Master Artist 2953 says, if I clock out, I'm leaving. No reason for me to stay here if I'm not being paid. Vixilifus says, if you are there, he needs to pay you. This is blatantly illegal, and you should file a complaint with your state's Department of Labor for all the back pay owed during your shifts. Humble Plantain 5918 says, yep. Well, I'm paying you for labor, he's paying you for your time. If you're there, available and willing to work, you must be paid for that time. He can require you to use that time to do other tasks that wouldn't typically be yours. Other duties as assigned is how it's always phrased in my paperwork, and I believe that's standard. Infallible Pork Chop says, yup, cleaning and such when times are slow is pretty common. Shlee says, making you clean constantly is legal. Making you clock in and out based on traffic is not. Talk to the labor board for your state. If there isn't one, talk to the National Labor Board. You are entitled to the pay you were forced to clock out for. And if he fires you for reporting this, you can sue him for that as well, and will likely win both cases easily. In the meantime, be prepared to find new work. Owner and managers often do the wrong illegal thing. Awkward Cheddar says, thank you for the advice, this helps and I will keep this in mind. Shlee says, at least make the phone calls and get their advice, even if you don't act on it. Anonymously reporting him for this may also be an option. Holiday Draw 2332 says, and he goes, well, there's always something to do, and he grinned and started listing random things in the basement to scrub or clean, and just other random things that I've never been required to do before. Then you should have just refused to clock out and to the basement and scrubbed something. Or performed one of the other tasks he listed that you haven't been required to do before. r/legal advice. Ninny 1883 says, can an employer hold a 17Y/O responsible for loss of product? This took place at a restaurant. 17-year-old employee accidentally left a freezer open. Product was then spoiled. Employer is holding the employee responsible for the lost product and deducting it directly from his paycheck. Just Somebody Anthonet says, no, they can't deduct it from your paycheck. They can fire you for it. But they still have to pay you. At least that applies in most places I'm familiar with. You didn't specify a location. Ninny 1883 says, sorry about that. Located in Scranton, Pennsylvania. Laxinfully says, yes, they need to pay you. They can't pay you less than minimum wage for the hours worked. If you need help with this, you can call the United States Department of Labor Wage and Hour Division in Wilkes-Barre at 570-826-6316. Macmont1D says, it is against the law in part for an employer to deduct the value of damaged equipment or goods from an employee's paycheck, with or without their authorization. Only deductions for things that benefit the employee are allowed, such as paying the employer back for tools purchased for the employee to own, and even then they must have the employee's authorization to deduct from the paycheck. This deduction is against the law. They can fire the employee for damaging the equipment or goods, but they must pay for all hours worked. Nini1883 says, thank you. Do you happen to know where I can find documentation on this? Old Twisted says, age also has nothing to do with this. Should be a labor board you can call, ask questions. Cubic J says, others have pointed out that this is illegal. What is legal is for the employer to move the employee to minimum wage until the employer feels they should go back to a higher pay. Employers can cut your rate to minimum wage unless you have a contract. Your friend can quit and not owe anything. Nini1883 says, oh, he did. But he's still owed a paycheck, and I know the owner is going to deduct what the kid owes from the paycheck. Silverane007 says, if he tries that, it'll have to be shown as a deduction on his paycheck and there will have to be an associated cause for deduction of pay. If a business owner gave me my last paycheck or worse, withheld my last paycheck altogether, I'd find a labor law attorney who would rake the business owner over coals. It probably gets resolved with one letter TBH. If the business owner goes to their attorney is going to tell them they were an idiot. Fix it before it turns into a suit. r/legal advice. Teleport Massive says, Stepmom threatening to sue me for portion of my inheritance. For context, we are in FL. So my dad died in May and left me with an investment account. It was transferred to me through Todd and I was sole beneficiary. My stepmom threatened to sue me yesterday if I don't give her 30% of that. I have a meeting with a lawyer on Wednesday, but has anyone been through this before? From my understanding she can't touch that account, but according to her attorney she can file paperwork to petition the courts for her elective share, 30%. Remarkable System 2547 says, you are sole beneficiary. Account predates marriage. Stepmommy gets nothing and is owed nothing. Whether she wastes money on legal stuff is on her. Teleport Massive says, she even said she was gonna petition to have me pay all her legal fees because I'm the reason it got to this point, even though she is the one filing the lawsuit. 775 says, if she actually had a lawyer she wouldn't be contacting you directly like this. Make her text/email you everything and give it to your own lawyer if you need to. Galinden says, Rule #1, never take advice from your adversary. Does the account predate the marriage, and if so, was there a prenup? Or is there any other circumstance in which the account would be considered separate property? Does the account administrator have a beneficiary designation form naming you as the beneficiary, and is her signature on it? Teleport Massive says, yes, the account predates their marriage. No prenup. And I don't really understand the last question, / Management Lade says, the designated beneficiary form is what your father would have filled out listing you as the beneficiary of the proceeds, if he had one, and you say he did. If the account was formed before his marriage, and specifically lists you as beneficiary, she can't touch it. If it was formed after the marriage, the form may have needed her signature. And stop talking to your adversary about this BC, that's what she is. Edit typo. Potato 73 says, she's going to say whatever she can to get the rest money. Don't speak to her anymore and get your own attorney. Let them do all the talking. If you owe her anything, they will tell you. If not, they will tell her and will help you fight your case. Mysterious Regent 640 says, the most important thing for you to do right now is to stop talking to her. Tell her all future conversations and communications have to go through your lawyer. r/legal advice. Mayor Lawson says, a kid threatened to shoot my son at school. Northwest Florida. Yesterday my son and his friend got in my car and told me that a kid that has been bullying them on the bus threatened to bring a gun and shoot them. The bus driver moved his seat last week, but when she wasn't looking, he moved back seats yesterday. I called the school immediately. They told me that they were going to take care of it. My son and his friend didn't ride the bus this morning. I took my son in, and they told me they searched the kid and didn't find anything. I was hoping to speak to a principal, but they were busy I guess. I'm waiting to get a call from someone letting me know what's going on. My question is, how would you proceed? As a parent, and legally? My sister thinks I should make a police report and request from the school that the kid not be allowed on the bus. These are elementary students. 4 to 5 grade. I don't want to cause a frenzy or anything, however with the way things are these days, I'm also concerned. Please help. I'm not sure why I posted here other than the amount of members, and it might be a legal issue. IDK. I'm not looking to ruin a kid's life for a mistake, however it does seem like he needs some help. He said he was going to shove his thing down my son's throat before saying he was going to shoot him. I really just need advice on what you would do. If this isn't the place for this type of question, please give suggestions where to ask it. A worried mama. Malia Live says, I'd be going to the police. That's a serious threat. Babby Wrinkles says, then email the principal, superintendent, and school board for your school with the police report number and a detailed description of what transpired. Fickle Freckles says, schools are notorious for brushing these kinds of things under the rug. Report this to the police. Cheetah81 says, I'm a teacher in Florida. Call police. The police are not messing around with this stuff anymore. It might cause a huge deal, but that's fine. The kid will face consequences from police, if not the school. Jeff Budge says, contact the police as well. LoloQuat8031 says, that child needs major help. Report him for sure, so the authorities can get him to the help he needs. Gildove says, hi there. Not a lawyer, but former school principal. First, I'm so sorry you're dealing with this. As a mom, I would be angry and scared for my baby. Second, some info that may support you. Florida law requires your school district to conduct a behavioral threat assessment in order to identify and address students who may pose a threat to the safety of themselves or others. You can find more info on the protocol by searching for Comprehensive School Threat Assessment Guidelines. With that said, I would employ a multi-pronged approach here. Email your principal, CC the superintendent with a subject line similar to urgent shooting threat, use the language provided above to request a threat assessment and explicitly request for a follow-up by end of day. As a principal, this level of threat is always an immediate stop. Do not pass go until an assessment is conducted. Call the police, especially because it sounds like you're being brushed off. Hope that helps. That's all for this video. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe.